Hi, I'm Reb Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for over 40 years. I'm going through the lessons again this year, asking Jesus to clarify for me, and then I write from that clarity. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. We're looking at lesson 300. Only an instant does this world endure. This is a thought which can be used to say that death and sorrow are the certain lot of all who come here, for their joys are gone before they are possessed or even grasped. Yet, this is also the idea that lets no false perception keep us in its hold, nor represent more than a passing cloud upon a sky eternally serene. And that is this serenity we seek, unclouded, obvious, and sure today. We seek your holy world today, for we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while, but we have listened to your voice and learned exactly what to do to be restored to heaven and our true identity. And we give thanks today. The world endures but for an instant. We would go beyond that tiny instant to eternity. The ego uses time to keep the memories of separation and therefore suffering cycling through the mind without end. The Holy Spirit, though, has a different use for time. In his hands, this time is used to recognize that we are merely dreaming of a time gone by, a time so short it lasted but an instant. When we give the Holy Spirit our thoughts and beliefs, we are forgiven and released. When this is complete, we lose interest in the dream and all its suffering, and it simply ceases to exist. We could say that the ego uses our dream of a world to promote suffering, and the Holy Spirit uses the same thing to end suffering. When we close our minds to the ego, we hear only the Holy Spirit, and He tells us exactly what to do to free ourselves and to be restored to heaven. By this time in the lessons, we know what to do and have been practicing it for at least 10 months. We will likely continue this practice as we typically don't give up our specialness so easy. Yet continued practice pays off and we begin to experience peace and happiness. This signals we're on the path to awakening, where peace and happiness are the norm, and chaos and suffering are the aberration. Last night I'd been asleep for only a couple of hours when my phone blared out a tornado warning. A warning means take shelter in a room with no windows, which for me is my walk-in closet. I made sure my cat was indoors and then I sat there for half an hour until it had passed my area. I was simply taking reasonable precautions. When this happens, I'm cognizant of the healing of the mind that has occurred so far. I used to be terrified of bad weather. However, all the activity made it difficult to fall back to sleep right away, and so I woke up feeling drugged. I began to notice that I was thinking a lot about how I feel this morning, expecting everything to be harder to do. As soon as I realized my choice of thoughts was making me suffer, I changed my mind. I forgave that thought and let it go. I was still aware of my body reacting to lack of sleep, but I was not suffering because I was not at war with the facts. My original belief was that I needed a certain amount of uninterrupted sleep to function. Otherwise, the body is sluggish and I suffer. Then I turned to the Holy Spirit to forgive that belief and let it pass without holding on to it or thinking about it. I could still feel a reaction in my body, but I was no longer suffering. It is always my thoughts and beliefs that cause suffering when chosen by the ego mind, or bring peace when chosen by the Holy Spirit. So I know how to go from from suffering to peace and happiness, and I practice it every chance I get. Because of this consistent practice, I most often move easily and quickly into peace. And when I'm caught in some ego story and have trouble letting it go, I know what to do about it. My phone kept me alert to where the tornado was tracked. It moved from my area to my daughter's and my grandson's, and I could feel my heart pounding in response. The shift to peace was not immediate, but I just relaxed my mind and let the chatter of the ego pass on through without giving it attention. It took just a little longer, but the process was the same. My distress over the weather and the tiredness of this morning were part of my chosen world, but they endured only an instant. My goal is to have the peace of God without interruption, to go past these reenactments of the tiny mad idea and into God's peaceful and joyous eternity. Every forgiven belief brings me that much closer to my goal. Each time I notice my distress and hand it to the Holy Spirit, I strengthen the habit of peace. The practice becomes my way of living, steady, gentle, and sure. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, then please like it, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And I'll be back soon with another reading. See you then.